Salutations, YouTube. I am Poetic Heretic, and this is a report entitled Nightmares Come to Life, a report on sleep paralysis. This is some of the most disturbing phenomena I have ever come across. If you scare easily, I highly recommend you stop reading or watching now. This is a report that explores accounts of terrors in the night, of screams held in by those too horrified to voice them, of those who awaken when the rest of the world is asleep with intense fear, swearing there is something in the room with them. Often it is a demon, or shadow, or an evil old hag. Whether these encounters are real or products of the imagination is heavily disputed. But what is not disputed is how terrifying the experiences are for those suffering them. This experience is commonly referred to in modern times as sleep paralysis. It is basically the experience of waking up unable to move. In this state, the person is also unable to speak or call for help. As the term implies, he or she is paralyzed, with their mind awake but their body still asleep. Many people who experience this also feel like there is something heavy on their chest and/or that they are being choked. Despite the frightening visions and physical sensations, many consider it simply a sleep disorder, caused by a chemical released during rapid eye movement, REM, sleep, to prevent the body from acting out its dreams. Sleep paralysis occurs when the body continues to release this chemical after the person awakens, and this is said to be caused by the person awakening prior to the completion of the REM sleep cycle. Sleep paralysis usually lasts no more than a few minutes. Claims of seeing strange entities are said by medical science to be hallucinations. These have been seen for centuries and vary quite a lot, including demons, hags, and aliens, and these stories come from almost every known culture in the world. While for most the experience is extremely terrifying, it is not a serious health problem according to the medical community. Sleep researchers say it is usually just an indication that the body is having trouble going from one stage of sleep to another. Sleep paralysis plagues up to 4 out of every 10 people. It is much more common than most people think. Many sufferers of it confess they typically don't tell anyone about it for fear of being thought of as crazy. It usually begins when a person is a teenager, though it can happen to anyone. Some speculate it could be hereditary. The main problem with the scientific explanation, however, is that it currently does not account very well for all or even most of the data, that being what many of those who experience sleep paralysis actually say they experience. There are a number of entities those suffering from sleep paralysis claim to see. The following is a summary of the most common ones. Most report seeing what has come to be widely known as the old hag, an entity with the appearance of an old homeless woman with all of her belongings on her. She often gets right in the face and/or sits on the chest of the victim and has been described as looking like she has black eyeliner running down her face. People report barely being able to breathe when she sits on their chest. Others often report encounters with shadow people, sometimes just one shadow person, and other times numerous shadow people at once. They are often seen at the side or foot of the bed, and not surprisingly, they often strike extreme fear in those who see them. In one person's account, these beings sometimes first entered after sleep paralysis had begun, with the door slowly opening and the shadows entering. Hearing the door open is very common during sleep paralysis episodes, even if the door is already open. Hearing footsteps is also very common, especially the sound of shuffling footsteps. There have been multiple reports of hooded shadows with glowing red eyes. Others see an entity resembling a shadow person, but which is thought by many to be something much worse. He is known as the Hat Man, the name coming from his appearing to wear a large fedora-type hat. Of course, all anyone ever sees is the silhouette of one, because like a shadow person, his appearance is that of a solid black figure. Sometimes people even see the old hag along with shadow people and or the Hat Man. One woman reported that on multiple occasions she has awakened in sleep paralysis to both the Hat Man and the old hag. The entities would then proceed to physically assault her, the old hag choking her and or sitting on her chest, while the Hat Man held her arms down. This woman said she had been experiencing this for decades. In one man's story, he experienced sleep paralysis and had a dream accompany it where his son sounded like he needed help. So the man entered his son's room and saw his window had been opened. He went to close the window when a black cat with menacing, glowing eyes bit his hand. He tried to shake the cat off, but it wouldn't release its jaws. Then he heard a horrid voice threaten to kill his children. This same man had an additional experience where a shadow person with glowing eyes was on the verge of attacking him in his bed. It growled at him, then screamed his name 3 times in the man's ear. The name was Darius. The man reported feeling the heat of the creature's breath on his ear. It should be noted that seeing a shadow figure is one of the most commonly reported sleep paralysis experiences. If you haven't been scared yet, the information in this report is about to get even more disturbing. The next reported entities are the incubus and succubus, beings that force victims into sexual activity. The incubus is the male and the succubus is the female. Unlike the old hag and shadow people, these entities are only sometimes encountered by those with sleep paralysis. DreamStudies.org founder Ryan Hurd tells a story where he woke up in sleep paralysis and heard the door open and what sounded like his wife entering the room. However, his wife was really at work at the time. The bed sunk a bit as he felt what he thought was his wife sit on it while his eyes remained closed. He felt her start to kiss him, causing powerful desire to rise within him. His vision came back to an extent, and then he was able to see this thing kissing him had fur on its cheeks, and a nose and mouth resembling that of a deer. His feelings of intense desire turned to intense horror, and then he woke up out of his sleep paralysis, extremely disturbed by what he just experienced. And in case it isn't clear, this was not a dream but a powerful hallucination brought on by sleep paralysis. The next entity is not exactly something people have seen so much as something people suspect is really behind what people have seen. They are known as the Jinn, said to be an entire race of ancient and invisible beings inhabiting another dimension close to our own. The meaning of the word Jinn is rooted in an Arabic word meaning hidden. It is unknown what they call themselves. They can create illusions and live for centuries, and they have the ability to shapeshift into any form. Thus, some theorize they are what is really behind the various entities seen during sleep paralysis. The most common type of Jinn often enjoy pestering people for amusement. Not surprisingly, a number of people believe sleep paralysis is caused by demons. This is usually accompanied by the belief that the entities encountered during sleep paralysis are demons themselves, either real or simply hallucinations or dreams. Hannah Foster of Brighton, UK tells of how she once awoke in sleep paralysis to a frightening dark figure. She said it reminded her of a demon and had a face resembling that of a gargoyle. As one would expect, she wanted to scream and get away as fast as possible. A somewhat less common belief is that sleep paralysis is linked to alien abduction. Sometimes during an episode of sleep paralysis, a person will see an entity resembling an alien. In fact, skeptics typically dismiss alien abduction stories as episodes of sleep paralysis. In one person's report, upon awakening in sleep paralysis, his bedroom became illuminated from a bright light outside before he saw a gray alien. While the entities gone over in this report thus far are the most common, sometimes people claim to encounter others that include furry monsters, hybrid animals, and or large insects. In the Middle Ages, artists often depicted a nighttime visitor causing sleep paralysis as a horned beast. Most, if not all, of these entities are thought to feed off fear. One must ask, if all this could be explained by medical science, why the entities reported all over the world throughout history tend to have the same overall descriptions. In some cases, encounters are witnessed by others, making a scientific explanation for every experience even less plausible. There are three main theories as to what exactly sleep paralysis is. The first is that it is simply a medical condition, a sleep disorder that may be brought on by insufficient sleep and an inconsistent sleep schedule, mental disorders, stress, falling asleep on one's back, additional sleep issues, especially narcolepsy, some medications, and or being a drug addict. The second theory is that it is a more psychological problem, that perhaps the entities seen are actually hallucinated subconscious archetypes. This would explain why so many accounts are of the same entities. The problem with this theory, however, is that the archetypes are much too specific. Others would argue that if these things are merely in the subconscious, then they shouldn't be as powerful as they are said to be. The third theory is, of course, that sleep paralysis is a psychic attack. It is the belief that the entities seen are very real, including the old hag, shadow people, hat man, incubus and succubus, jinn, demons, and aliens. Let us now go over the various ways to protect yourself from sleep paralysis. If you believe it is a medical condition, see a doctor. If you believe you are dealing with negative entities, there are a number of relatively easy things you can do to prevent the attacks. Here's a list of some you may consider. Sleep with the light on. Listen to something soothing as you fall asleep. Tell yourself soon before falling asleep that you will have only the sweetest of dreams. Have pictures and objects around you that make you feel good. Maintain a positive outlook on life. Remember that negativity attracts negativity and positivity attracts positivity. Do anything you can to make your bedroom a room that you enjoy being in. Never say that you are powerless. Remember that you have all the power. Do not use Ouija boards, participate in seances, or anything else that could give anything unwanted an invitation. Stand your ground by remembering that your bedroom is yours, and anything or anyone uninvited is not welcome. Get enough sleep. Sleep deprivation is one of the main causes of sleep paralysis. Avoid sleeping on your back. Lastly, avoid taking naps, especially in the morning. These are all just suggestions. If you plan on following them, I recommend you simply choose the ones that feel right for you. The following is advice on what to do should you find yourself under attack in an episode of sleep paralysis. First, try to move just one finger or one toe. Successfully doing so will cause you to snap out of it. If you are a religious person, pray. If you are not religious, focus your mind on something extremely positive. Whatever happens, do your best to remain calm. Remember that you need only take back control of your own mind to overcome the attack. Remember that no person, entity, or experience has power over you unless you give it power. Once you break free from sleep paralysis, do not go right back to sleep. Instead, get up and allow yourself to become fully awake and alert, and only then go back to sleep. Failure to do so will increase the chance of sleep paralysis recurring. That concludes this report. In case anyone is wondering, I personally have never experienced sleep paralysis, though I do find the subject extremely fascinating. If anyone is watching this because they have been plagued by sleep paralysis, it is my sincere hope that the information I have presented has benefited you in some way. While I remain largely undecided about whether or not sleep paralysis is actually some kind of spiritual attack, it is interesting to note that throughout the process of researching and writing this report, unexpected things have happened to delay my progress more than any other time I have worked on any other report, almost as if some unseen force did not want it to be completed. Or maybe that is just me being paranoid. Either way, I am happy to have finally been able to present this to all of you. Sweet dreams.